Druids on for Druids. We've got Lost in the Park, a 1-cost quest line. Gain 4 attack with your hero. Reward, gain 5 armor. Now, one of the things that's true about all the other quest lines is they tend to have game-ending effects. This one is much easier to attain, and much more about just playing for tempo and having a very attainable quest line. Quest line, gain 5 attack with your hero, and the payoff is gain 5 armor and draw a card. Final part of the quest, Feral Frenzy, spelled with friends. That's funny. Questline, gain 6 attack with your hero. Reward, Guff the Tough. The Tough, 5-cost, 8/8 taunt. So of all of the quest lines, this is the best creature to play by far. Battle Cry, give your hero plus 8 attack this turn, gain 8 armor. When you add all of this up, first off, it's very easy to do with Feral Rage, with Moontouched Amulet, with Pounce, with Park Panther, which we're going to see in a little bit. It's actually very easy to get all of these quests, and it's also not very particularly urgent, because when you do the math, 5 attack, 6 attack, 4 attack, that's 15, plus you play Guff, that's 8, that's 23 damage. You've essentially almost won the game already. On top of that, Druid has a lot of ways to copy something like this, like Mark of the Spike Shell. 2 cost, get another Guff the Tough. You can copy it on turn 7, play it, copy it. Turn 8, you can play it. If you play it twice, that's 31 damage. So this could be exceptionally good. Lost in the Park could be great if an environment is rife with aggro decks, because you are at once dealing with a board or racing your opponent while also gaining a lot of armor. Gain 5 armor, gain 5 armor, and then gain 8 armor, right? So 18 armor and 23 attack is enough to swing just about every aggro matchup. So it's very interesting. I think Lost in the Park also is a quest that you don't need to play on turn 1. You could easily play an aggro deck with all the cards that we're going to see soon, and Enchanted Ravens and Shepherd Initiates and the likes, and then you could just, after you're done playing your creatures, you can say, all right, Guff the Tough, time to come in and clean house. All right, and he comes in, and you suddenly say, all right, changing gears. You've played your control cards against me. Now I'm going to go Feral Druid, go bear mode, go at your face, all right? This guy's going to start attacking, and it's a pretty big deal. Mark the Spike Shell also is just good in an aggro deck where you can play Toad of the Wilds, potentially, and get another copy, or you can just play all these 1-drops that they have access to and say, I'm ahead of the curve. I have a 4/4 on turn 2. Many decks don't like dealing with a 4/4 on turn 2, right? Especially something like Warlock would hate to deal with a 4/4 on turn 2. You could just use it as a punch, 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 deal you 12 damage before you've answered it, and suddenly I've achieved the rest of my quest. Even if you only hit twice, turn 1, turn 2, Mark the Spike Shell or Mark of the Wild, hit you for 4, hit you for 4 on turn 3, I've dealt 8 damage. The rest of my quest line deals 23, so it could be very easy to build around this. I think Lost in the Park is going to have some exceptional homes to play. I think aggro Druid is one of the most exciting archetypes that's going to come out. I was already playing it, and now we just got tons of extra cards, so there's no way that it's not good. We have a 70% win rate with aggro Druid pre-united in Stormwind, and they're giving us a ton of toys. So this deck is gonna be great. I think Lost in the Park does need specific support. You need to run specific cards that are going to help make it better, but that deck is going to be good. Because of the specificity, it's only going to get 2 stars. You can't just plop this in a lot of Druid decks. You need to build around it, include cards that synergize with Lost in the Park. But the payoff's going to be pretty big. This is a very strong 2-star card. In Limited, I don't know if they even let you get quests in Arena, but Fat Zero, it's way too hard to get all the cards that would give you power for this. There's no way to build around it, so just do not play this card. It is literally the worst card you can get, and I mean the worst. Best in Shell, 6-cost tradable, not nature for some reason. Summon 2/7 turtles with taunt. This card's great. 6 for 4 power and 14 toughness of taunt. Your opponent has to chew through this. This is a lot of stats, which makes this just generally a good card. It is obviously worst against control, but even against control, after you trade it away a couple times, you're fine to say, okay, tough to deal with dudes. Here you go. I'm gonna play it, and force your control deck to answer with my steady as the tortoise, gum you for 2, gum you for 2. Yum. Just get at you two damage at a time. It will take them a while to chew through that. Not to mention some of the matchups that want to flip the script quickly. Um, some of the decks that want to control and then immediately flip into aggro mode, they're not going to be able to chew through this. They're gonna have to kill this card, unless they're trying to burn you to death like a mage deck. Now, that being said, a mage spell deck is probably going to race Best in Shell, and it can probably ignore you once you put the 2/7s into play. So that's probably the matchup where it's worst. But even in that matchup, you can just trade it away and find more things. The things that make this really exciting, first off, you have Feral Druid, we've discussed, might just be a deck. So putting this much toughness in the way should buy you the amount of time you need to turn on Guff the Tough. It's also giving you taunt creatures, which again, Mark of the Spike Shell can copy. It's also importantly costed 1 less than Celestial Alignment. And not that Celestial Alignment really needed much more help, but the type of help it needed was definitely putting something down in play to help me not die before I play Celestial Alignment. And this is exactly that card, right? Normally you're looking to spend mana, ramp, and innervates and lightning blooms to get Celestial Alignment out. But if you don't have those, or if you only have one, you're totally happy playing Best in Shell on turn 4, probably because you ramped on turn 3, and then maybe you have one more innervate or something. You can play Best in Shell. And then you say, all right, chew through that while I Celestial Alignment, and now I'm not dead, and now I get to just play some really busted cards. There's a lot of applications to this. This card's great. I think it's going to see a lot of play. I think it's a 3-star card that's going to see play in tons of different style of Druid decks. I think it's an MVP in Celestial Alignment. And in any sort of mid-range deck, you're just going to be happy to play this card. So at worst, you're trading it away for more threats. And at best, this card is keeping you alive to play Celestial Alignment and winning you the game. So this card, I'm showing it a lot of love. In Arena, this card is fantastic. If you're missing Curve and you drew it in your opening hand after mulligans, you can throw it away and try to find Curve on turn 1. You throw it away, trade it away on turn 1 and try to get other cards for turn 2, 3, and 4. And late game, you're just more than happy to play 2/7 taunts. I would spend more than 6 mana. If I knew in the end game that I could play 2/7s, I'd be very happy to spend like 8 mana on that. If I knew that it wasn't going to gum up my early draw. But this costs 6. It's great. If you don't need it, get rid of it, get something else. This card's just great. One downside to it, it does not get buffed by Survival of the Fittest. So in your primordial Druid decks, it's a little bit worse, but then again, it's still the turn after you Overgrowth, you can always play Best in Shell, and that should buy you enough time to get everything else in play. This card's great. Next, we have Oracle of Elune. 3 cost 2/4. After you play a minion that costs 2 or less, summon a copy of it. This effect is great. It's on the level of Playmaker. Now that said, Playmaker had some friends that it could build with. Parade Leader, Bumper Car, made for some pretty nutty interactions. Also ETC God of Metal. So I don't know if those exist yet for Oracle of Elune, but they might. Razormane Battle Guard is a 2 cost 2/3 that reduces the cost of other taunt creatures you play by 2, the first one you play at each turn. If you drop Oracle of Elune, then your Dreaming Drake would cost 1, and if it's corrupted, A, costing 1 would make it easy to corrupt. B, it would cost 2 or less now, which means you'd get a second copy of it. So I think the very best I can do with this card is Razormane Battle Guard on turn 2, Oracle of Elun on turn 3 to corrupt my Dreaming Drake, coin out the Dreaming Drake, get 2/5/6 taunts. I think that's probably going to win any game that it happens. Now, obviously you have to be on the draw, you could be a turn slower doing it on the play. That right there is a pretty powerful effect. Now, it does rely on having those cards. It relies on Battle Guard surviving. We're going to see some of the early tempo cards that Druid has access to that might make the imminent threat of other cards coming down more important for your opponent to deal with. But this effect is undeniably great. Oracle of Elun gets 2 stars from me because I think it needs very specific things, but this card has a ton of room to grow. So keep an eye out for it. There's every creature that gets printed from here on out, you just always have to look at, is it good with Oracle of Elun? This is the sort of card that you're looking at and saying, does getting 2 of these make a huge difference? Even something like Peasant later in the set, that's just like having 2 peasants, or having 2 squirrels that's going to come out, and then it dies and you get more. There's a lot of room for this card to just be very, very good. It's fringe 3-star. Druid certainly gets a lot of toys, and maybe the fact that they got so many cards is what makes me hesitant to grade this higher. But this effect could be great. It could be a build around card. You know what? We have to call it 3 stars. It could be a build around card. It probably is just good most of the time, if not all the time. There's a lot of decks that are going to use it, and it has the potential to be completely busted broken. So Oracle of Elun has to get 3. In Arena, 3 cost 2/4. It's fine. You generally don't want to be playing other cards lower on the curve, but eventually you are just going to fill your hand with other cards that you drafted for your curve. 2 is a fairly common creature to stack up on. You just have a lot of 2 cost 2/3s in your deck, and suddenly 2 cost 2/2/3s is way better. So it definitely has some effects, and if you ever get 2 Total of the Wilds out, you're going to be pretty happy with yourself. So this card's a 2-star in Arena. Borderline 3 if your deck is right for it, but generally you just want to be higher in the curve anyways. Now, speaking of best friends of Elun, Vibrant Squirrel. 1 cost 2/1 Beast. Death Rattle, shuffle 4 acorns into your deck. When drawn, summon a 2/1 squirrel. This card's great. This card's just absolutely fantastic for an aggro style Druid deck. I'm certainly going to be playing it. It is an auto instant include to the deck that I've been playing already. It's going to die to a lot of things, but you're fine with that because it's putting 4 acorns. It's not one of those things where it's like Mankrik that there's just 1 in your deck. Maybe you get it, maybe you don't. The 2/1s aren't certainly a big payoff, but there's 4 of them. Over the course of a game, you just are likely to draw these, at least one of them. And if you draw 1, then this card's already paid for itself. 1 costs 2/1 that makes another 2/1 is just a great card. If it ever does more than that, absolutely, it can be bonkers. If you were like me and you had Malagos in your deck, then your Malagos endgame might draw you the rest of your acorns and your Olgra, and just suddenly just populate the board where you go Malagos full board, go, or Ironbark just because I can. But there's some really interesting applications. I think this card helps give you a clock in some decks. You certainly wouldn't want to put it in a Guardian Animals deck because it's a beast. You don't want to gum up those plays. But there's a lot of play for this card. I think mostly its home is going to be in an aggro deck that I know exists. You guys know because you're watching this video that it exists. So we're going to give it a strong 2 stars. It's going to be good in those decks. It has a lot of applications. In Arena, you're very happy to play this card. I'm going to give it 3 stars. It's one of the best cards you could possibly get on curve. And in Arena, the games do tend to get to 10 stars very easily. 10 mana crystals, so you're probably going to get 2 of the other acorns in play, so that just makes this a phenomenal investment for the stats. Alright, Park Panther. Ding 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 ding! My favorite card in the entire expansion, not only because it goes in the deck that I want to play, but this card's insane, and it's our first true 4-star card. 4 cost 4/4, it's a beast. You can get it with all the beast synergies that are going on. Rush. Whenever this attacks, give your hero +3 attack this turn. This card is 4-star because it does everything. You are putting it in every single deck. You are happy to even put it in Guardian Animals because it's fine. At worst, it's fine. And at best, it's going to help you with your clock and help you protect that early to middle game transition where you're trying to get your big guys out. 4 cost 4/4. First off, there's not many 4 cost 4/5s that are seeing play. So you're not going to like brick into their curve. Most likely there's a lot of 3/3s, 3/4s all over the place. The aggro decks are playing a lot of 3/2s and 3/4s and things like this. You're going to win the trade into that. And your hero is then going to also go into something else. So on turn 4, maybe on turn 3, you're just going to win the board back with Park Panther. I'm going to spend 4 mana, kill one guy, my hero kills another, and I still have a 4/2 in play. Go. That is absolutely insane. That is so good that you can even put this card in something like a Celestial Alignment deck to just help you clear the board early. Your worst matchups are aggro, so why not put a card in that is just a straight 2-for-1, usually even a 3-for-1. You're gonna be able to clear all the board of early things. Druid also had a huge hole, and that was the ability to catch up. If you ever fell behind in Druid, you're just like, I can't get back into it. I'm going to play a big guy, and Venomous Scorpid just fights it off. Well, with Park Panther, you're going to go, my 4/4 is going to kill your 2/2/1 maker. My hero is going to kill your Venomous Scorpid. I have a 4/2 in play. I've killed 2 of your guys. Good luck catching up on this board. That's just your generic average board that a lot of decks play. But even if you're looking at something like Face Hunter, all right, I'm going to play Park Panther, and I'm going to run into your Kolkar Pack Runner, and my hero's going to run into your Intrepid Initiate. And suddenly, I just have a bigger board than you. You are the aggro deck, or am I the aggro deck? This card's just great. Put it in every single Druid deck. This is a reason to play Druid. It's so good that my previous favorite card, Kazaka's Golem Shaper, is getting the axe. It's gone. Park Panther, make way. It's a new regime coming to Druid Town. This card's great. In Arena, also 4 stars. You are going to take this, put it in every single deck. I'm going to say the only Druid card I would take over this is Arbor Up. All right, another one of my favorite cards. 1 cost, Sow the Soil. Choose one, give your minions +1 attack, or summon a 2/2 Treant. With the exception of Cult Neophyte, this card just is Enchanted Raven, and probably takes the place of Enchanted Raven in every deck that's not a specific like Beast Synergy deck. This card's just absurdly good. In tokens, you generally, at least at the way it plays right now, you're building a big board and then buffing your big board. This doesn't give toughness, but it only costs 1, and it's a guy. So you can put an extra 1 cost 2/2 into play. In your aggro decks, this is obviously just great. It's another 1-drop 2/2, so it's Enchanted Raven on turn 1. It's also importantly a nature spell, so if you're playing Guff Rune Totem, like I am, this card, if you just go Guff and play this, you've got a 4/4. And that's great. That's very, very good. That you've already paid the investment on the Guff Rune Totem card, and then it just has multiple applications that are much, much better than that. So if you go just playing with new cards, you play Vibrant Squirrel. Next turn you play Adorable Infestation, and now you've got Breeding Squirrels, which everybody loves. It's a complete menace. Turn 1, 2/1. Turn 2, Adorable Infestation, 2 1/1s. Turn 3, just another 1/1, whatever I drew that was left over. It doesn't even need to be fully on curve, and play Sow the Soil. Or maybe I even use that turn to play my quest, because I'm going to start cleaning up with it after, and then buff my guys by 1. There's 3 creatures on the table, plus 3 attack to get it in right now. Suddenly I'm attacking you with a 2/1, a 2/1, and a 4/3. That's just a very strong effect. I could even use one of my 2/1s to fight your 3/2, so that your 3/2 can't come back at my 4/3. There's tons of applications to this. The curves that are possible. We are already getting wins on turn 4, and definitely lots of wins on turn 5. This is just going to increase the redundancy of those types of starts. This card's great. It's going to go in a lot of different decks. In token, mostly it's going to be okay in token, and it's going to be fantastic in aggro decks. It's a 3-star card. In arena, also a 3-star. You're just very, very, very happy to put a 1 cost 2/2 in your deck for the curve, and then sometimes You're just in the middle of the game and you're looking at trading up all over the place, and you say, all right, I now have the ability to trade up with my 2 bad creatures and send in my 3rd creature. Um, Very happy to play this card. You're going to put it in all your decks. You're not going to take it over your very strong cards. Obviously nowhere close to a Park Panther, but you're very happy to play Sow the Soil. Kodo Mount is our next card. 4 cost. Another one of those cards that helps Druid catch up and fills that hole. Give a minion +4/+2 and rush. When it dies, summon a Kodo, which is of course a 4/2 rush. Based on the number of 1-drops that we now have in our deck, alright, if I'm looking at just my list, I'm looking at Intrepid Initiate, Sow the Soil, Enchanted Raven, and Vibrant Squirrel. So I have 8 1s in my deck. So, drawing them in the mid game doesn't feel good at all. But suddenly, when you can say, all right, I'm playing this leftover guy from my curve, Enchanted Raven will say, and I'm going to put Kodo Mount on it to make it a 6/4 to wipe out your Light Shower Elemental. And then I'm also going to have a 4/2, which I could even use to kill your Death's Head Cultist, for example. That's really good. And even just against control decks especially, saying, I hit you, I play a guy on turn 1, I play a guy on turn 2, turn 3 I innervate Kodo Mount on any one of my 3 2/2s that are in play. Well, suddenly they're hitting you for 6. They've got at least 3 toughness, if not 4, 4 being much more difficult to kill. Sometimes I might even Lightning Bloom on turn 2 and just hit you with a 6/4 on turn 2. The types of draws and explosive starts that you get off of that are enormous and unparalleled. There's no deck that can hit you that hard. This card's great. It goes mostly just in that aggro deck where you can have those extra copies. If you get Vibrant Squirrels that are coming off the top of your deck in the mid game, it's just going to give you access to fight back against the mid range decks that start playing bigger creatures than you. It's definitely an MVP against control. It's +4 power right now, and then even when they kill your guy, you still get a 4/2 in play. So this card is going to have a lot of success in a specific type of deck. You're not playing this in your combo or control decks, not at all. And mid-range even, you probably don't want to do it. So it's only going to go in one deck. It's going to go get 2 stars. Where this card really shines, though, is in Arena. Because in Arena, you're always going to have cards that are off curve. You're just, it's kind of the nature of the thing. You'd like to go 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. But sometimes, like, especially if you're on the play, you play 3, their 2 doesn't answer it, they play a 3, and then you say, my 3, I'm not going to play a 4 this turn. Instead, I'm going to buff my 3, it's going to smash your guy, and now it's bigger than the next guy you play as well, which means it's going to smash you again. This time going face. You need to spend your 5th turn trying to answer my mounted creature, and after you've used all these resources, I have a 4/2 still. And then I continue my curve and I continue hitting it. So Kodo Mount is an absolutely very, very strong card. 3 stars, almost 4. It's not on the level of Park Panther or Arbor Up, but Kodo Mount is going to be a fantastic game swinging card for Arena. And also, if you fall behind as Druid, you don't have access to removal spells, well, suddenly your 3 cost, 3/4 that's just in your deck. Imagine just putting this on a Sunwell Initiate on turn 7, or 8, or 10. Alright, next we have Composting, my least favorite card in the set for Druids. 2 cost Nature Spell. Give your minions Death Rattle, draw a card. My big issue with this is if you're playing tokens, you generally want to play tokens and then make it hard to deal with. You want to make your board hard to deal with, and that way they can't sweep it, they can't play enough creatures. Something like Soul of the Forest gives you 2/2 replacements so that they would need multiple sweeper effects to get rid of your board. Composting says, all right, congratulations on wiping my board. I fuel up, and now I have to put down another board again. It does refuel something like another Glowfly Swarm, but then you have to have another Glowfly. It might be playable in tokens as a card where it's the cheaper version where you're saying, here's my first board. I'm going to compost this board, or make it so that if you kill them, I'm going to refuel. And then my second board can be the one, now that I've drawn 4 cards, I probably have an extra Innervate type effect. I probably have an extra Pump Spell, and I probably have an extra token generator just based on the redundancy. So if it sees a home, it's going to be in a place like that, where it's put a medium board out first, compost, and then say, all right, did you kill that? Then I'm going to dump out a second bigger board. The issue is that some of the cards that you draw might be more composting, and there's only so many glowfly swarms that you can put in your deck. Maybe this has a home where in decks that can't run fungal fortunes. The aggro deck that I'm talking about has 8 1-drops, so maybe it's turn 1 1-drop, turn 2 1-drop 1-drop, turn 3 1-drop compost, and you say, all right, do you deal with my board? I get to fuel up, and then it keeps me going. So either one of those though is a very niche application. I'm giving this card 1 star. It's not very good. If Druid had ways of churning through its cards and creating multiple effects, maybe this has room to grow, but I don't see it being as a defining card. I don't think it's going to get you there. In Arena, fairly similarly, you're probably not drawing more than 1 card. Maybe you're getting 2, and that's just not good enough. You have to wait too long. You're spending mana to get cards later. It's just not that good. So giving it 1 star across the board. Maybe there's a way to build into it that comes up, especially in the future, but at least in the way things are right now, it's just not there, and I don't see that much room for growth. Next, we have a second super exciting card for Guff. Wicker Claw, 2 cost, 1/4. It is a beast, so you get those extra synergies. After your hero gains attack, this minion gains +2 attack permanently. That's very easy to trigger. As easy as hero power or pounce. Buffing this guy up permanently seems pretty easy to do. It's also a guy that you're happy to play on turn 2 because it's very hard to kill. It's going to fight any boards of 2/1s or 3/1s or tokens like Wolpertingers. And then it just gets bigger after that. Very easy to make this card bigger, in fact. So in a world against Hunter, for example, Intrepid Initiate does not want to see this card. Wolpertinger does not want to see this card. Even Demon Companion does not want to see this card. You plop this out, it is definitely threatening to kill a 1/1 or a 2/1 quickly, and then also is threatening to kill 3/3s and 4/3s later. So on top of that, against control decks, it's very hard to remove, and this card could easily, very quickly, become a 5-power minion, as easily as turn 3 with Feral Rage or Moontouched Amulet, and Pounce. And then suddenly you've just got a massive threat on the table. If you played Lost in the Woods on turn 1, if you played Wicker Claw on turn 2, how are they going to deal with that threat? You're probably triggering the first part of Lost in the Woods questline. You're probably going to get at least 1 hit in for 5, if not more. Plus the extra damage that you dealt with your champion, with your hero. This card has a ton of upside. It's a very specific deck, which is why it's going to get 2 stars. I don't think it goes in every deck. That said, 2 cost 1/4 is a fine body to play. And in aggro, you're going to play some cards that give your champion attack, including just your hero power, and Park Panther, we already said, is going in every deck. So there's a chance that Wicker Claw just gets ubiquitous play. So almost 3 stars for this guy. I want to give him the 3-star. It definitely has the upside of potentially being the best card in your deck in a build-around scenario. And that makes me want to give it the 3 stars. But just as a general usage, not that great. In Arena, you're probably playing this on turn 4 and making it a 3/4, and you're happy with that. And that's at worst. You've got a turn 4 3/4, which is not the worst body. You'd like it to cost 3, but it could also be your turn 2 play or your turn 1 play with a coin. And then you can hero power to help control the board, and then this starts hitting face for 3, for 5, for 7. You're not going to get the broken swing turns of multiple plus attack effects, but you will just get general good power level out of Wicker Claw. So it's going to get 3 stars for Arena. Druid might have already been the best class in Arena, and it is getting a lot of help. Last but not least, we've got the legendary Sheldras Moontree. 8 cost 5/5. Battle Cry. The next 3 spells you draw are cast when drawn. I've heard this card referenced as a scam card. And I feel like there's no better way to describe it. It's going to scam you and your opponent. There are times where you're going to stay Sheldress Moontree on turn 6, let's say, and Primordial Protector on turn 7. Draw your largest cost spell. Well, okay, so I have Primordial Protector. I'm casting Survival of the Fittest. Wow, that's a free cast on Survival when I'm already getting other creatures on the board. That's busted. That could be insanely strong. Now that deck doesn't really need help to do things more powerfully than it already does, but this accelerates it. This says, this is happening now, right? We're getting our effects now. There's also the downside where that deck is playing a lot of Innervates, Lightning Blooms, Wild Growth, Overgrowth. That's 8 cards in your deck right there. Even Nature Studies, 10 cards. That you really don't want this effect. You might play Sheldress and then next turn cast when drawn, cast when drawn, cast when drawn. You might just get these really feels bad moments. Most of the time you're going to get a Cenarian Ward, or you're going to get a Survival of the Fittest, or you're going to get a Guardian Animals. There is a world where you get Celestial Alignment, and that could turn that deck completely bonkers as well. I don't think that deck probably doesn't want the inconsistency of a Sheldress Moontree, but certainly the upside is there where you're saying, all right, my Gadgets and Auctioneer means that I'm going to play 3 cards for free, which in turn are going to trigger Auctioneer and draw more cards, give me more chances to hit everything. The sheer power level of this means it's at least worth attempting to put in that deck. A lot of people, at least initially, are going to give this a heck of a look because the effect is bonkers. The question is, are you willing to play that 15% chance that it just dies on you? But it would also have to be off the top of your deck, so all the creatures you draw are at least going to give you a moment to say, Sheldress, chill, I really want to cast Survival of the Fittest. Here's my Primordial Protector. I want Survival of the Fittest right now. Most of the time, this card's going to be safe. I feel like it's only going to be 5% feels bad. A lot of the time, it's very strong, and some of the time, it's completely busted. This is the sort of card that fits in existing decks. It's going to get 3 stars. I also have no idea what the applications are in Wild, but I imagine they're completely busted. It's an exciting card to see in action. In Arena, 1 star. 8 cost 5/5. That's it. You maybe have some spells that you get to cast for free, but you may not even be drawing them. It's inconsistent at best. Holy moly. I was excited about Demon Hunter. I am even more excited about Druid. Druid got tons of cards that fill holes and just, light up my theory crafting brain. There's so many exciting things to do in Druid. I'm going to be rushing to play these aggro Druid decks and adding Park Panther and Kodomount, and just can't wait to see how they turn out. But it's going to be strong in Arena. It's going to be strong in Constructed. I think Druid probably got the best overall grade of all the United and Stormwind classes. Druid get the most help, and a lot of really interesting cards.